Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm wondering if my other videos did help you just change your perspective slightly or just encourage you to think. So that then it was wonderful doing those videos. Now, why you don't have what you want? It could be anything. It could be success, health, love, money, fame, anything. It could be anything in the world. Why is it that you don't have this? And often we see, like I've also talked about in my other videos, it's the trifecta, right? Health, wealth, success, money, whatever, and relationships. So, good health, good relationships, and abundance, relatively doing okay. So, if you're lacking in these, even on one or two or more fronts, why is it that you don't have what you want? So, if, like me, you find yourself in a position where the life you're living is absolutely alien to what you want, is completely different, and you're just saying, how did I land up here? Or you are surrounded by people you don't like, or you're in a job you don't like, or you are health wise in a position that you're not well. So, why is it that you're not where you want to be? So, even though often a lot of other people kind of steer us towards a path of self destruction, towards a path of self-sabotage, towards the path where we fail and we lose at life because it kind of justifies their perception of us and we play along. There is a part of us that plays along. But here we are about taking control of our life, and that will not happen unless we take accountability for ourselves. So, number one, you never allowed yourself to figure out what you truly want. So, if you grow up in a very chaotic environment, or there is a lot of abuse, or trauma, or neglect, or abandonment, or things where you as a child were more focused on surviving. How do I manage to live through this day? How do I live? So, when your brain goes into survival mode, then there is no time or energy or resources, internal resources left for self exploration, for self awareness, for self understanding, for self perception. These are core skills as a child is growing up surrounded by safe adults in a safe environment. And even if they don't have a lot of stimulus, let's say they don't have access to a lot of fancy school or fancy teachers or fancy classes, even in, let us say, when you don't have access to that, if you're surrounded by safety, safe grown-ups, you felt safe to be yourself, and just a minimally safe environment, you can our brains are fantastic things. They can figure things out on their own, left to their own resources. But here the entire mechanism has shifted from self-growth, from self-exploration, from self-development to survival. So you needed to allocate your brain, all your resources to understand, okay, am I going to get into trouble for this? Am I going to do this? How do I manage through this? So your brain is busy doing that. So there is no time left to really pay attention to what you truly want. And because there is no awareness, we often come into adulthood without any realization of this. So we continue that pattern. We go into professions we don't like, or we don't have absolutely any aptitude for. We marry people we are not compatible with. We don't want to do this. We are afraid to take decisions. We end up eating things, doing things, behaving in ways that helped us survive and not who we truly are or what we truly want. Okay, so number two, so one hand, firstly, we don't allow yourself. Second is, let us say, in a weird way, you get these ideas, okay, maybe I want this, okay, that's cool and that's nice, oh, lovely, or something like that. Then comes in shame. It creates a barrier between you, your identity, you as a person, and what you want, your desires. So what happens, let's say you right now, you are in an unhealthy place physically. You have a lot of weight, or you have disease, or you have bad eating habits. So probably they developed as a coping mechanism. They developed to protect you in a certain situation. They served their purpose. Your mind had to find a way to protect you. Food was the easiest choice available, and so your body, your soul, your mind chose that. So today, as a grown-up, you find yourself eating all the unhealthy foods, you go on diets and you fail and you lose weight and you gain it back, and there's this pattern that forms. So you find yourself here. And then let's say you look at somebody, man, woman, whatever, okay, great body, great physique, you love their body, you love how they dress and how fit they are or what they do, whoever they are, you admire that person. So that's, let's say, you want to be like them. You don't want to be them, no. You want to be like them. You want to take some habits from them. Maybe you want to look like them. Maybe you like, physically, maybe you like their dressing sense. Maybe you want to be slim like them. Or you admire their physique, so you want to work out and train like them. But what happens? Shame comes in. So when shame is very, very insidious, shame will come in and tell you how you're not worthy of even looking at that. So before you can lay claim to the fact that I want that, but how can I want that? I don't deserve it. Look at me, I'm such a fat slob, or I'm this, or I don't have any control, and I eat like an animal, and these are things that I've heard and encountered myself. So how can I want that? So second is, not even once you become aware of what you want, your shame, your lack of self-worth will not allow you to acknowledge it. Because only when you acknowledge it, you can accept that what you have is not worthy of you or is not good enough. So I'll give you a very, very basic example. It's a very weird example. My examples often tend to be pretty weird, I guess. So let's say there's a slice of bread, okay? If you're used to eating stale bread, which is days old, without any butter, without any jam, or without anything, you just ate, drank a little water to survive. And not because the people around you didn't have access to it. That's one thing. Maybe they don't have access to it and they come back and tell you, I'm sorry, we don't have this. That's another thing. But when they tell you, you don't deserve it. What if they had stuff and they didn't give you? What if they didn't do it for you? So that sent you a message, I'm not worthy enough. And when you see somebody eating a nice juicy sandwich, like, with chicken in it, or maybe they have jam and they have bread and all of these nice things, then you look at it with so much of, desire, and you want it, and then you tell yourself, no, that's not for me. I'm not worthy enough. How can I have that? So shame is going to come in. And the thing is that the chaos through which we have come, okay, the chaos are still inside us. And the longer you allow the chaos to continue, because trust me, chaos is comfort. Chaos is a coping mechanism, so you don't have to look at the painful reality in life. So the chaos is there, so you don't have to look at the void that's in your life. So you don't have to look at the pain, that hole that you're trying to fill with food, with people, with various relationships or whatever. Okay, so that's shame for you. Now, okay, number 3 is familiarity. So when something is familiar, okay, your body, your mind, your soul is going to go back to it. It doesn't matter how great things are looking ahead of you. If you do not make health, abundance, wealth, success, fame, and love, and respect, and empathy, these positive things familiar to yourself, then your body and mind and your heart and soul and your entire being is going to crave what's familiar from the past. That is toxicity, that is neglect, disrespect, and all of that brought you here to where you are. Why? Because This is a very complex thing. All of these negative emotions are not just familiar to us, they also bind us with people who on some level we love, we grew up with, we have a connection to. And some of these connections are very, very powerful and strong. And that makes it even more difficult for anybody to even look at that situation. Forget about facing it. Nobody wants to face the fact that perhaps they didn't deserve the kind of horrible treatment that was meted out to them as a child by their own parents or by their own caregivers. Nobody wants to know that that somebody did not feed them properly. They deliberately created a situation where they are overweight. Parents do that, caregivers do that. So familiarity. So what now? Let us say you grew up with parents or caregivers or whoever. You were majorly surrounded by people who raised you with a lot of contempt, disgust, maybe physical abuse, mental abuse, and everything else put together. So now that is familiar. So what happens when you grow up and you because of all the trauma, all the chaos, there is no self-awareness, What happens? You continue that pattern. You continue running after people who are not available and who treat you like that because it's familiar. Like that wound is familiar. And you kind of like it because it's familiar. It helps you survive. You do things, the same things that brought you to this place where you are today. Running after the wrong people, eating the wrong foods, taking the wrong decisions, and running away from everything that's right. Why? Because everything that is right is absolutely unfamiliar. You don't know what it is, and it's scary. Whereas the disrespect, the abuse, the negativity, and everything else is familiar. You know the territory, you know how to live in it. You don't know how to live with someone who treats you nicely or people who see good in you. And that is where comes next. Number 4, self-sabotage. So when everything great, good, and what you're worthy of is unfamiliar, you will go into self-sabotage, where you are going to drive away every single person who likes you, who loves you, who sees your potential, and then go back to people who absolutely want the worst for you. The same people who set you up for failure. You are going to, let's say you start an exercise program, you start, let's say, going to the gym and you're eating clean, but then as you lose weight, you start to look good. People start giving you compliments, and you start to look better, feel confident. But what happens? That's scary. Maybe when you were a kid or you're growing up, some kind of abuse happened, so you associate looking good with that abuse. Maybe you were shamed, so the excess fat protects you from that. And there you go, you self-sabotage, you find some reason to just say, forget it, this is not for me, it was pointless from the start. You go back to eating crap and you gain that weight and move back. Because you've been overweight, you've been unhealthy for such a long time, because the child had no way to survive. You had to gain that weight to survive. So, similarly, even when it comes to, let's say, success and in the professional world, what happens? If you grow up around people where you were supposed to fail, okay, in the family dynamics, children often grow up with different things. In some families, you have to fail to survive. In some families, you have to be a loser to survive. In some families, you have to be witty and funny. In some families, you have to do academically well to survive. So if in your family you had to fail and you had to self-sabotage, then that's what you learn. So professionally, when you find yourself in situations where you are doing really well and people are appreciating you and there is respect, there goes your limbic brain. Oh, this is not for me. This is so unfamiliar. I'm so afraid. I don't like this. That's it. You will find some reason of burning down to the ground every single thing that you've created and you've worked hard for. The same goes for relationships. People go and cheat on their partners. People Even though they have the best people in their lives, they'll still go looking for people like, who absolutely treat them like trash. Why? Not because they're stupid, not because they don't, because they don't know, because they're going after familiarity, because they're going after what feels comfortable. Because when you grow up with that, then the opposite of that, faith, love, respect, empathy, kindness, if you're treated cruelly all your life, then kindness is unfamiliar. But more than anything, now these are the 4 things that I have done myself, and I have realized that the best way to slowly get out of all of this is to be kind to yourself, and understand that all of this is not because of lack on our part. It was a coping mechanism. It was protective. It protected us all of these years from so many things. So you have to acknowledge that fear. You have to acknowledge everything negative and know that it developed for a reason. That part of your psyche developed because there was nobody else safe around to protect you. That part became strong so it could protect the soft, the kind, the gentle part of you. So it's very important to acknowledge that and not treat it with shame and contempt and disgust. That's also a part of you that served and continues and will continue to serve a purpose. So, if there is one thing that I would like you to take from this video, is to just, if you listen to the video, then just think about these things. See what all things that you might have done and what all things that you have faced that have led you to a point in life where you're not happy with what you have, and that treat yourself with kindness. And it doesn't matter what happened to you. Who said what about you? What I'm here to tell you is that you're worthy, you're deserving of love, of good health, of respect, of success, of a life that you want to live. And thank you so much for being here, and see you soon.